Ashley, and today we're going to go over basic stamping 101, I guess. So first are stamps. So you have your clear stamps that you use with acrylic block, cling stamps you can also use with an acrylic block, and you have your wood-mounted stamps. There's a lot of those around there too. So I prefer the clear stamps. Generally speaking, they're my go-to stamps. I can see them where I put them on my project, and they are so much fun. A lot of them come in a set. So now you want to get the good acrylic stamps. There are some that are cheap, and when you put them on your project, they mush and they smear, and those are not okay. I don't like those at all. There are a lot of companies out there with good quality stamps, so make sure you get those that will last you a long time. Now we're going to go over our ink. This is Memento Black. It's Memento Tuxedo Black dye ink, and I use this primarily on most of my projects, and mostly for sentiments and scrapbooking, and also for my Copic coloring. That's the ink that I use. It won't bleed when I use my alcohol inks, my Copics, and that's what you want to use. So I also switch these out every 6 months. I'll put the date on the back label so I know when to replace them. Now we have a VersaFine Black Onyx ink. It is a pigment ink, and these are for more detailed images. I usually will set this with my heat tool so it won't smear, and I don't usually color with that either. Now we have our StazOn permanent ink, and that is what I use for when I do watercoloring and any surface that I might want to stamp on that is slick so it won't smear. It dries quickly so that doesn't take place. Now this ink, it does tend to dye your stamps along with this VersaFine ink as well, and that's okay. Once you get past the idea that it stains your stamps, it will not damage them. They will stamp just as good as the day you bought them. Just a little discoloration, no big deal. I'm particular, but I got over it and I'm alright with it. So now we are going to talk about Versamark ink. It's a watermark ink, and it's super sticky. It's what I use for dry embossing when you do your embossing powder. And you stamp your image and you pour the embossing powder on, shake it off, and it rises. It's really great for that, and I also use it on colored cardstock if I want a darker tone image on that cardstock. I'll just hit it with my heat tool after I stamp my image, and it's wonderful. This does well. And now we have your pigment ink. Now pigment ink, there's so many different colors of this, but it comes out a chalkier look to it. It takes a long time to dry, so I am impatient. I will usually hit it with my heat tool. Also, you can use it for, it does take embossing powder as well, and so if you want that color of ink, then you can just use your embossing powder, your clear embossing powder. Now we have Distress ink, and this is probably one of my favorites to use for watercoloring and for blending. I usually have my storages that has the Velcro on the back. I can stick my little sponge on the back, but this is for, it reacts really well to water. There's so many fun techniques that you can do with this. I will show you in future videos on how to use it. So now we're going to go on with our acrylic blocks. Now I have a lot of acrylic blocks. I've had many over the years, but these are the ones I tend to like the most, and these are Apple Pie Memories acrylic blocks, and I'm just a square, linear kind of girl when it comes to my blocks. Easier to handle for me, and that's my preference. Sometimes I'm a little rough on mine, and I have to replace them every few years because if I'm going camping, if I'm going on vacation, I want to throw them in my bag and take them with me, and they tend to get a little beat up. Or if I'm pretty lazy and I just huck it in my bin, I don't pay much attention, and they will crack on the edges. And you can see that. I don't know if you can see. There you go. There's a good clear shot, maybe, of how they can crack. And it's still good to use, and it will last you a long time if you're super nice and careful with them. So now we're going to go on with our paper. Now this is a 110 pound Neenah Solar White paper, and I use this primarily for most of my projects, for cards, for any Copic coloring, and yeah, that's what I tend to use if I'm going to use a white cardstock. Now I really like it because it really takes the Copics really well, and it holds the ink and it helps to blend the colors as I am coloring with them. Here's a little butterfly that I stamped the other day, and it helped to bleed those colors and hold it well, and it really is a good quality paper that I really enjoy. And so there's that. Super easy. Now here's the putting stamps on your block. We have a particularly difficult stamp to align on your acrylic block, and it's from the month set. It's that little border stamp that turns into a journaling spot or a journaling card, and it's kind of hard to put on. It's pretty particular. So here's a quick way. I put it face down on my grid mat that's always on my desk, and I light it up as best I can. Now this is a bit shy of 3 by 4, that's so that it can work with any dies out there. I know Technique Tuesday has a story card die. My Favorite Things has a die out there. And I'm sure Project Life has a die cut for that as well. So we just put it face down, and you take your acrylic block. This is a 4x6 block, and you set it right on top very gently. And once you have it, you press down and you pull up, and then you can stamp away. And sometimes you can devote an entire acrylic block and just leave it there forever if you would like, but that doesn't really make sense because I like to use my acrylic blocks all the time for different purposes, and it's not exactly cheap to keep one stamp on one acrylic block. So there is a learning curve. It just takes a bit of time to learn how to do it, but once you get it figured out, it's super easy, and it takes little to no time. And so make sure that when you line it up and you press your acrylic block down, that you are precise. But again, it takes you less than a couple of minutes, even if that. And so you put your acrylic block down, and watch this. As I set it down, it moved. That top line moved. And then, if that's the case, fine, just set it down and do it again. Not a big deal. And then the basic general other clear stamps. You just put your stamp on your block, put ink on it, and stamp away. That's pretty much it, and I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned something. Please be sure to follow us on our Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, and have a great day. Thanks for watching.